Hello, one and all. Well, I say one and all. There's probably maybe 5 of you watching. Hi there! We're going to talk Alien RPG to you. Handful. And what we're going to say here is, from the experiences, I've managed to play it now. The initial beginning module. This is Hope's Last Day. It appears in the core rulebook. And the core rulebook, it's basically a 1-act long cinematic mode, one shot, with the usual being 3 acts long. And the whole distinction being, normally in a 3-act one, you can earn a story point at the end of each act and have a new secret personal agenda being given to you at the end of each act. Here you just have the one regular one. For those of you that are my players, checking this out and haven't yet played Hope's Last Day with me, switch off, don't watch this. It's going to be full of spoilers, and that's for any of you wanting to play Hope's Last Day too. Switch off, going to be full of spoilers. Right, moving into Hope's Last Day. I wanted to get a bit of an idea of, what works with it and what doesn't. So I watched a little bit of playthroughs of some other people running Hope's Last Day. Not to be too critical, I wasn't keen on their approach, their GM approach to how they did it. So it definitely armoured me for basically how I would react to certain things that players might do in my way, but also some things that I definitely wanted to verify I would do my way to try and create the tension and all those sort of things. Playing remotely because, pandemic nonsense, via Discord and, Roll20. Really important element, Roll20 there, because uploading the maps onto Roll20, but like the secret alien movement positiony things that they do, because they move around the map once they've been activated. They start passive very often, but they start like, you set them off, they start going. And you can move them around on a GM's layer, so you get to see them but the players don't, until you change their layer and bring them through, and then suddenly pop, this thing appears right in front of all of them on screen. They're like, ah! What's that? And really, what is that? Because it's really, really tiny. So on the screen, So Hope's Last Day, set on LV426, a colony there. You'd know it from, in fact, Alien, which is where they found the engineer ship, the big horseshoe thing. Found the space jockey there and the whole eggs thing, and then took it back up there, and and then Aliens, the second one, the Cameron one, where they went into then Hadley's Hope to try and fight the alien outbreak. Hope's Last Day tells the story of the initial stages of the outbreak before the Marines have arrived. And if you're going to run it as a GM, can I just advise you check out River of Pain? I checked it recently. It's like one of the novels of like a trilogy series by I think it's Tim Lebon. And I actually checked out the full cast audio version via Audible, which was good. Touched a little bit too much on some of the Aliens stuff and like recreated some of that a bit too much for my tastes. I didn't think that was needed personally, but all the other stuff, all the fresh content that it gives you is the whole disaster outbreak within the facility, those early stages, and basically the players miss all that anyway, because they're out working on a processor when all this kind of goes down in a really big way. I mean, the last thing they hear about is, there's like some organism, it's just killed that Russ guy who's a wildcatter. It's burst out of him, and there's some sort of, it's like a snake thing loose now, snake with very tiny arms. And it's loose in the facility, and we're just going to have to find it and squash it or something. But hey, there's a lot of tension here at the moment in the colony. Yeah, you know, it's great to be out on a mission. That's cool. And by the time they get back, well, things have severely worsened, and basically all the events that lead up to the very end of River of Pain have happened. So it would give you a bit of context for, you know, like stuff that might have then happened. And it's great because it shows you one of the NPCs that appears in the module, the Doctor, and it kind of explains a few other things, like why there might be weaponry around, like incinerators and pulse rifles and things like that. And the answer being that Hadley's Hope has a Marine contingent there that, you know, even in the very, very early stages, and, you know, they had some weaponry, and you know, they were led by Captain Brackett, and that whole story kind of goes down. I'm about to give you a spoiler for River of Pain, or should I? No, I'm not going to give you the spoiler. I'm not going to give you the spoiler for River of Pain. I'll explain it another way. That's spoiler free. The event that happens at the end of River of Pain, you could include knowledge of that event reaching them at the processor before they get to the facility. They could hear about it, maybe pick up a certain individual's PDT long-range comms, overhear maybe a comms chatter from a ship's computer thing going on, some sort of comms thing that they pick up on elements of that, and it's like, oh, what's such and such, naming no names, doing now? And maybe that reaches the players. Oh, such and such is displaced, or was in A and now is in B, or was in situation A and now in situation B, right? Leave it at that. That's one that you could put in additionally there to sort of build the picture. One that I did use with the party was the addition of Newt. Now, this is a great moment for when they have maybe activated the initial face hugger, and it's stalking them. And basically, when they do that initial activation, my big tip for you there is to get them to do the observation test straight away, way before you intend to launch the thing. So that way, they've done the observation test, and you haven't primed them to look for observation tests that they're about to be attacked, because you give them the observation test, you don't tell them what they're rolling against because it's opposed. Yeah, Facehugger does its stealth, its move roll. Yeah, and you work that out for however close it's going to need to get, essentially. And then at the point that it does appear, that's when you'll then apply it, sort of thing. So just do it in advance. And so you'll know, just like keep track of whether it's going to surprise them or not later on, or what have you. And if the lighting or other conditions are different, just have those extra dice rolled for them or whatever. Because when it comes to observation versus stealth, you always roll the lowest person's stealth versus the highest person's observation anyway, kind of thing like that. The two best and worst possibilities against each other. So you kind of know who to aim for. It's not like everybody do it intensively thing. So yeah, during that opening kind of time, Facehugger's activated. Maybe they're hearing some signs of it. You're narrating some things about it. Maybe they've brought up the motion tracker, which, you know, if they've got any sense, they'll be using it. Of course, the battery's going to be draining, and that's what's great about this, you know, the survival horror element. And one of the motion trackers did run out of juice on us. Luckily, we had a second one, so that had to get booted up, and it just goes to show you, and you know, that started ticking down as well. It just goes to show you that idea of you know, the resources running out, because you could just imagine a critical key moment, and the GM, you know, he's asking for these power checks every every turn, which is like two zones, which is basically a room and a corridor. A room or a corridor is a zone, so a couple of them, and oh please, another check. But of course those checks, they make sense. They're self-balancing because you roll a number of d6 of whatever the power supply level is, and ones drain that much out of it. So it's power 5, you roll a couple of ones, it's now power 3. Next time you do the check, you roll 3 dice. Any ones, well, you get a 1, you got 2 power left. When you've got no power left, it's run out. But of course, this is where it's self-balancing, because the lower it gets, the less chance you've got of rolling a 1 anyway. When there's more dice, there's more ones, right? So, to me, that makes sense. It's a good mechanic. Anyway, back to the thing, yeah? They've got motion trackers on. Great point to put the second idea in is to bring in Newt. Little kind of cameo. Nothing too extreme. And basically, remember the rule of Newt, right? The rule of Newt is none but Ripley can follow her to where she goes, right? That's the first rule of Newt, yeah? And the second rule of Newt is she's really, really fast, and pulse rifles can't seem to ever catch her, when you suddenly fire in surprise. Those are the 2 rules of Newt, okay? And she can get away if she really wants to. So the way I use the rule of Newt was basically, it was a time when they've been getting the wind put up them by a genuine facehugger that they don't know is a facehugger, but they're getting noises, they're getting things, they've been getting motion tracker, and now they've got a motion tracker thing coming in on them, and it's approaching, and it's pretty much on top of you, and you still don't see anything, and it's like, oh God, oh no. And then basically you explain to one of the players who happens to have the highest observation or something like that, whatever, you work it out, or just choose someone, right, that you think that'd be fun, and basically tell them privately that they just basically stared up into the vent above them, and they saw the face of a little girl with long blonde hair staring down at them. And then basically you quickly get on with narrating to the rest of the group, hey, the motion signal is getting further away now. It's leaving. It's going at a rapid pace. And remember the rules of Newt. So if they try shooting into the vents, if there's some kind of, they're probably in the vents because meta, or they might be on the floor, or some kind of thing like that. Newt cannot be shot. She's too fast for pulse rifles. Yeah, she's got plot armor anyway. This is a great time to use it because, it's just a little moment. It's a little thing, and that's great to add to the book for me, because then the player can be like, I just saw a little girl staring at me, and everybody knows what's going on and what that's actually about. Who's watched the movies and that? Yeah, that's great. But hey, they've just had a cameo there. If you the really freaky one would just be to have Casey. That's the doll's head, Casey. Just the Casey's head staring down. There's a doll's head watching you, and the eyes just go, or whatever. That would be very Cthulhu, wouldn't it? But this game does get very Cthulhu. That's the other thing to say about it. So I can give you some reportings a little bit about how it went in another video, but this whole explorable map thing, I think it works great. You just let the players go where they want to go. We sprung a face hugger on them first. We let them see that there's a dead person at the desk, and to try and get the ID card, and the ID card is ruined. All the beats are there, and I managed to get the beats going. Basically, the little jump scares, the little this, the little that, and we had some of the stuff like that worked out perfectly for like a horror movie beats. So those initial jump scares that just turn out to be nothing. And the way that those were done is basically you clue the players in that they can and should be searching for stuff, and you can really get that going from the west airlock, when there's basically a bunch of lockers, and you can basically say they're shut, you don't know what's in them, and they may want to search it or whatever, and you start to try and get them into the habit of searching rooms if you want, but also point out, well, it does take a turn to actually search the room. So if anything else is activating, time is spent. My players know to be paranoid about time being spent. That's the kind of moment when, you know, when I might be moving things around. Something that was in one room may now be in another room. Anything like that could be happening, you know, inside the GM layer of Roll20. Anyway, you know, maybe they do a search, you roll on the table, you see what they find. But if they get the observation wrong, and by wrong I mean stress, rolls a 1. I mean, you could even do it without like a stressy result, just with a failure, without like a, oh, it affects you. But my players, yeah, messed up a lot of that observation stuff. So there was moments like with a room where someone opened the door and went to check it and tried to observe the room. It was pretty dark in there, and they failed their observation by getting a stress die. So they do a panic roll, and they didn't. You know, they were in the you're keeping it together. But I just basically explained someone had put a lab coat over the back of a chair, and there was a mop hung up against the chair, and it kind of looked like a head from within the silhouette. So you thought someone was sitting there staring at you, some freaky looking being, and then you realize, you know, oh my god, whew, you know, my nerves. Okay, it's nothing. And it's just moments like that, you know, something hanging suddenly. So you open the door and something falls and hangs and swings from, and it's just a pipe or something. It's just, you know, you thought it was maybe going to be a body, or you thought it's someone's arm or something. Just, or you know, with like blood leaking from it, but maybe it's just some sort of condensation fluid or oil just dripping, drip, and you could swear it's blood, and you know, you shine a light on it or whatever, and you can now see it's oil, and oh wow, you're getting those beats, those early beats, and then the horror really comes, and it's bam, you know, and it hits them. The other thing to say, you know, just they can explore where they like, and you know, you can load up, you know, whatever it is they're seeing, and you know, yeah, maybe it's partly luck that, you know, they got those rolls wrong, so that I can then have the beats go, have those that sort of like that build up, that graduation into the real horror being discovered. You know, so sometimes the game is fortuitous like that, in that way. Yeah, you know, there's some great moments, like the discovery of the holdout room, you know, and the effects that have on people. Anyway, just a little bit about, you know, Hadley's Hope, about Hope's Last Day itself, but we'll do a quick how it ended for our players video next. I'll see you at that one.